Welcome to Diversity Matters. This program is designed to highlight the diversity-related activities throughout New Hanover County Schools and the greater Wilmington region. I'm Valita Quattlebaum, Chief Communications Officer for New Hanover County Schools. This month, we're discussing how the faith community supports our schools, especially in the aftermath of Hurricane Florence. According to Leah Schaefer's A Bridge Between School and Faith, a Harvard University research story, religion provides support, stability, and guidance to millions of young people across America. Here in Wilmington, many of our faith-based organizations often take the lead in giving our at-risk students academic support, mentorship, and lessons in resilience and self-control. New Hanover County Schools can leverage and tie into the assets that the faith community brings to our school staff and students, and we really appreciate our faith leaders and their congregations' abilities in the way they reach out and they serve our community, especially our students. So this is going to be a very informational and educational show, and we will explore how the faith community supports our students and families, and ultimately that helps us improve academic outcomes. I can't wait to hear from our panel of guests, so don't go away. We'll be right back after this short break.
Start your day with New Hanover County Schools, the morning show. This Rise and Shine program will put a smile on your face and a spring in your step. Best of all, you'll start the day a little smarter. The morning show features an exciting 6-hour mix of exclusive features, cooking, entertainment, news, science, math, and more. New Hanover County Schools, the morning show, educating all viewers to achieve today and tomorrow in a global community. Only on this channel.
Welcome back to Diversity Matters, and thank you both for being my guests today. I'm so excited to have both of you here. I'll start with you, Reverend Campbell. Can you please tell us how your church has been involved in our community in the aftermath of Hurricane Florence?
Oh, absolutely. Our church hit the ground running as soon as the hurricane came to our city. We were going door to door, handing out food and water and bleach, and then we also began to organize people to help families clear out damaged areas. And in fact, I'm organizing something this weekend, which I'm calling Community Helping Hands. We've got Market North, which has been condemned so it can be repaired. And there's 53 families that need to move. And I'm calling on the community to come out and bring your truck and let's help these people move. And that'll be, of course, by the time this airs, it'll be over. But
right.
But this is my mission field, Wilmington.
That's excellent. And many of the families in Market North are our students at Forest Hill, so that's great. One follow-up question for you. I noticed right in the aftermath, you were very active in explaining to the general community how certain minority populations had special needs that they were overlooking. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I came up with this statement that you must be intentional to be inclusive. I don't think that the urban community was intentionally left out, but if you don't stop and say who's at the table and who's missing from the table, you will overlook some people. And that kind of happened there for about 4 or 5 days. But what came out of this, which I'm really proud of, is greater community relations.
Absolutely.
And so it ended well.
Great. Thank you for your leadership with that.
Thank you.
And Rabbi Emily, welcome to Wilmington.
Thank you.
So I know you just got here, but how do you see your temple interacting with the public school system here?
Wonderful. Well, of course, we have a number of our children in the temple who attend public school here, so it's important that we're supportive of them, as well as, because being Jewish is such a minority here in Wilmington, to be able to offer the opportunities to understand what our faith is, to understand about Judaism, because of course the Christian religion is based on Judaism, and so to help understand. So for that, one of the things that I hope is that people will see our doors are wide open, and we speak all the time about opening our doors and our hearts to the community. So I think it's important to have the opportunity for not only our kids that are part of the school to be able to share their holidays and their experiences, but also to allow anyone from the community to know that they can worship with us if ever they'd like to, or even to come and take a tour, to attend a class, to attend a celebration. So I think it's important. I feel that you can't ever really understand your own faith if you don't have an understanding of other faiths as well. And to me, it's essential to be able to be open to allow anyone to learn and to celebrate and to remember that we're all brothers and sisters.
That's excellent. I definitely will be calling on you as a consultant as we move forward.
I would love that, and I'd love to welcome you to services anytime. So
Thank you. I'd love to come. I have another question for both of you. In this aftermath, we've seen so many people hurting. In our schools, our children are traumatized. We are traumatized. Many of us have been displaced, or we're trying to work, but you're still trying to get home and fill out your FEED applications. So can you talk to me from a pastoral perspective, what we can do, or your approach with reaching out to your members who may be our people as well?
Well, I think that the church has to be a place of compassion. And in that, I think that the church has to look at its congregation and know that it needs healing. And I think it has to institute programs that minister to its people. And then I think also the healer also needs to know that he or she needs to be healed, and that you don't want to get so busy and so burnt out that you don't stop to take care of yourself. Because what happens, we've all gone through this and we're all under pressure. So I would say look to heal the congregation, but look to be healed as well. Take that time to refresh so you can continue to refresh others.
Right.
beautiful. I have to agree with that. We know one of my favorite biblical passages is actually when Moses' brother-in-law tells him, Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, tells him that you can't do all of this yourself. You need to get help, and you need to be able to rely on others. At the same time, that's a reminder that if we don't take care of ourselves, we won't be of help to anyone else. I always call that the putting on your own oxygen mask first kind of theory. The sense of support is so essential, and for me as a rabbi, they do lots of training in rabbinical school, but they don't train you on what to do when a hurricane comes and decimates your city, especially after only being the rabbi there for a couple of months. And so many of us have been kind of learning on the fly. And what's so important is some people, there are words of compassion that they need to hear, and other people, they just need a hug. They just need to know that you're there. And I've been so touched by the outpouring from the Jewish community around not just the country, but around the world, who have offered support, sending, whether it's gift cards or donations, but even just the cards that say, we care about you, and reminding our congregants that they're not alone. When we speak about comfort, though, I think one of the interesting things is in the aftermath of the storm, I almost felt in some ways our world here in Wilmington almost stopped. All of the political things that were going around in the country, there was so much, and even if I would have wanted to preach on elements of that, it wasn't the right time, it wasn't the right place. I needed to be able to be here and present, and to understand the trauma that has come along with this storm. It's more than just the physical of cleaning up and being displaced and trying to find a home. There's really this emotional aspect of trying to understand, what does it mean, and what is true safety, and what does it mean to have what we in Judaism call a sukkot shlomecha, a shelter of peace. And the storm, I want to say, the storm actually hit us at the most holy time of the year. So if for Christians, if you imagine Easter and Christmas coming in a 1 week period, that was the time period that it came for us, right between our Jewish New Year and our Day of Atonement, that then led into 2 other holidays. And so this took an emotional toll on all of us as well, to be displaced at our holiest time of the year.
Mm-hmm. Now, Pastor Campbell, I know your church has been in the schools. You all do tutoring and mentoring and all sorts of things. Can you give us any advice on how we might help our kids, and or what you all might do, because you're one of our strongest faith partners, New Beginning Church. And so will you all take a different approach? Because I'm sure you'll be aware of the pain and suffering that our children are feeling.
I think that communicating to the parents that pressure is there. I think that as people are going through this process, we all carry pressure, and we carry it differently, but we still carry it. And we have to stop and think about what those kids are going through. I think you have to ask the question, and you also have to take the lead. I think you have to say, come here, hon, I want you to sit down. Because they won't tell you they're under pressure.
Right.
I think you have to know as a parent. But again, I think it goes back to the healing. Understand that that's part of the process, that there is a spiritual side to this thing. Besides cleaning up, like you said, cleaning up the yards and cleaning, there's something, many of these kids have been in houses without power for 5 days. Doesn't seem like much if you're grown up. But for 5 days, they haven't had their games. They haven't had air conditioning.
Right.
It's been, but I think that parents, I think you have to stop and not just look on the surface, but look a little deeper and talk to your kids about, hey, I heard them talking about what kind of pressure are you under? What would you, on the scale of 1 to 10, what would you say in 10 being really high and 1 being low? Where are you? And what could I do to help you relieve some of that pressure? Have the conversation, because that conversation will be comforting to your kids.
I would agree with the children, just to know that there are people who are there for them to talk. That's what hopefully we're always doing as ministers of faith and as in the pastoral field. But at this time, there are these frustrations that the kids might not understand. And one of my...
Or they can't articulate it.
Exactly.
Right.
And, even from a logistic point of view, these kids, they had their summer break, they came back to school for a couple of weeks, and then they were off almost an entire month. And in that period, I was talking to one of my students, and she was saying how, well, she's getting so much homework that she has to do, and she's not sure what to do, where they came right back and they had all this work, and rightfully so, there was so much to make up in such a short period of time. And I really feel for the extra pressures that are going on with
Right.
the students. And I think they need as many safe, positive outlets, and hopefully being in a place of faith, knowing that all of our church and synagogue doors are open, our temple doors, to come and to know that it doesn't matter your age, you are welcome there, and you have support and love.
Yeah, we need you more than ever. I mean,
Yeah.
our teachers too, because as you said, Pastor Campbell, they tend to be, okay, we're back in and we have all these deadlines and we got to get the kids for senior project. We have all these things, but yet they're hurting too.
Yeah.
So,
And one thing too, most people that went through this storm may have lost a week or 2 weeks of income, but that's a lot.
Yes.
And you asked how we're going to help. We recognize that some people who may not have had devastation in their home, but financially, they're going to feel it at Thanksgiving. They're going to feel it at Christmas. And what we're doing, we are organizing a turkey giveaway for Thanksgiving. We're organizing Angel Tree for Christmas and adopting families in our community. The Thanksgiving, we're looking to buy turkeys to give out to people who basically need that assistance. And I would say that the church needs to continue to lean forward and understand that those who have the economic means, this is not a big deal. But those who are living on the edge,
Yes.
it's a huge deal,
Yeah.
and we need to look for ways that we can still make a positive impact with them.
absolutely.
And if I can add to that, Pastor, Also, first of all, I want us to partner with you and getting those turkeys for Thanksgiving so that we can all give thanks together as one community. So we're going to talk afterwards to make that
Absolutely.
happen. We've been collecting food drive and hygiene products and everything that we can as well to be able to give out. And I just want to also add on to that, it's not even people who are living that close to the edge. When you live paycheck to paycheck, even in a comfortable place, and you miss one paycheck, that could be a car payment, that could be rent, that could be bills. That makes such a huge impact all along that we want to be able to help out and to support. And this storm has affected everyone, and it's important to know that.
It has, and we cannot do what we do in New Hanover County Schools without you all. I hope other ministers watch this, and I hope they step up, but I can't say thank you enough. My heart is overwhelmed with appreciation and gratitude to both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back, so don't go away.
Start your day with New Hanover County Schools, the morning show. This Rise and Shine program will put a smile on your face and a spring in your step. Best of all, you'll start the day a little smarter. The morning show features an exciting 6-hour mix of exclusive features, cooking, entertainment, news, science, math, and more. New Hanover County Schools, the morning show, educating all viewers to achieve today and tomorrow in a global community. Only on this channel.
Mr. McCross and Steve,
Yes.
welcome to Diversity Matters, and thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Nourish is one of my favorite nonprofits because you all do so very much to help our students directly. Can you tell us a little bit about Nourish NC and how it's structured?
Yeah, certainly. So we're a nonprofit here in New Hanover County that was set up to serve the 1 in 4 children in our community that struggle with hunger. Really what that means is we want to put good, nutritious food in our kids' bellies so they could be happy, so they could be healthy, so they could succeed in the classroom, and so they can do well in their community. And we've been doing this for about 10 years now, and we primarily do that through our backpack program that feeds children over weekends and school breaks when they don't have access to free and reduced lunch.
Are you in all of our schools?
We are in almost all of your schools. So we serve about 40 county schools and about 5 or 6 non-county schools, like Glow, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we just are coming out of Hurricane Florence. Can you tell us how Nourish operated before and after the storm?
Yeah, so in our previous 10 years, we weren't really a quote-unquote disaster relief agency. And we've been serving the backpack program for 10 years now, but in the wake of the storm, we took very little damage, and we had a warehouse full of food. So when you have a warehouse full of food and a community hurting, you become a disaster relief agency at that moment. And so we were able to open a few days after the storm and start putting food out to all the families on our program. So currently our backpack program serves 1,000 kids in this county every weekend and over all school breaks. So before the storm, we were shipping those families groceries to prepare. And then after the storm, we were providing relief boxes so they at least had food and one less thing to worry about.
And so how did the families get the food? Did you just put a call out for them to come to your location?
Yeah, so we did a bunch of different things. I happened to see Dr. Markley at a St. Andrews event right after that, and I told him then that we would send food anywhere and everywhere y'all needed it. And so it was a great combination. We contacted all of our families and said, hey, you can come get food here. But the best thing about it was your school principals, your social workers, and your teachers were pulling up to our back door and loading their trucks and cars full of food for their families.
Wow.
And I know they were hurting too and didn't have to do that. So we were blown away by the dedication of your staff that was coming to our back door and taking care of their kids at a time when, like I said, they themselves were probably hurting. So it was everything from our warehouse to your staff, and we were also shipping it to events the schools were having, like MC Williams had a family night.
Right, many of our schools had those events.
Yeah, so we really wanted to make that one less thing that kids and families had to worry about.
I was wondering how you could help people, like say some of our families at Freeman don't have transportation.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that they suffered, they couldn't get to the feeding stations that were
Yeah.
around. But our teachers stepped up.
I mean, principals, teachers, social workers, we'll
Yeah.
also deliver it if we can. We'll try to take it to the schools if the school has room. You know, some schools' room is space is a high priority, and there's not a lot of it. So we really try to be really flexible. And we don't go into a school and say, here's how you're going to run the program. We go in
Right.
and say, how can we help you
Right.
help your kids? And every school is different. And so in that way, we kind of have 40 plus different ways of running the program depending on what the school needs.
Okay. And let me ask you about United Way.
Yeah.
This year, we will run a United Way campaign in New Hanover County Schools, but it's a tough thing, obviously, because we are the ones who've been impacted.
Yeah.
You know, we have many of our people, our employees, who are hurting themselves, and so we want to have this campaign so that we could help organizations that have helped us, like you all.
Yeah.
You helped our kids. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Because I think it's going to be a little bit difficult to ask people, hey, can you give?
Yeah.
And they're Ms. Qualba, I'm hurting real bad.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that?
Yeah, you know, I think what you're talking about too is an overarching thing that's going to happen is after disasters, people only have a little bit to give.
Right.
And so I think we're going to see in general in the next few months, nonprofits and churches kind of hurting as donations probably dry up. The great thing about your campaign with the United Way is, you know, through agencies like Nourish NC or communities and schools, I think it'll be wonderful that the dollar you do give is at least going to circle right back around and provide a meal for that kid in your classroom or help with tutoring for CIS or so at least that investment isn't going off somewhere.
Right,
And
that
you
we
don't
don't
really
know
know
about
where.
it, right.
You could designate your funds through those campaigns, and all of that United Way money stays in the region, period. So I think it's so wonderful that it's not going to an imaginary place.
Right.
It's coming right back
Right
in
back.
and feeding a kid. Yeah.
Right, right. So how can we help you? You all, I mean, I just can't thank you enough for what you've done. Is there anything the New Hanover County Schools can do to support Nourish NC?
Yeah, I mean, your teachers, your social workers, your administrators have been wonderful for us. Without them, our program doesn't exist. There's only 3 of us at Nourish. We rely on the schools
You
to
have
really
3 full-time employees.
3 full-time employees, and that's it.
Wow.
So we rely on the school social workers, the family counselors, the teachers. They're really the backbone and the heart and soul of the program. We just make it happen to get it to them, but they're the ones who are recognizing those kids. And as you know, if you're struggling with food insecurity, as a child, that wreaks havoc on you. You know, you're more likely to be sick, suffer from colds and headaches. You're going to be lower math and reading scores. So if we can get these kids well fed through free lunch programs and then Nourish NC on the weekends, ideally that's a better behaved child in the classroom and a healthier child, which I think everybody wins
Right.
when we have a healthy child and full psychologically, physically, mentally. There's a lot of components to building a strong child.
And you know, in the past, there's been some talk from the other side that, well, that's basic needs and that's something parents should do for their children. What's your take on that?
You know, it is a basic need, but it takes a village to raise our children. And what I find in the program that we do is a lot of our folks are, like Pastor Campbell talked about earlier, they're paycheck to paycheck. And one little disruption in that changes everything. So if we can make it that your child could have food and that's one less thing to worry about, I am happy to do that. And I think as a community we have an obligation to do that. And since the storm, we've had 420 emergency enrollments from New Hanover County School children.
That's what I wanted to ask. If parents are watching this and they say, hey, I didn't know about, I could get that, what do they need to do?
The best way to do it is talk to the social worker or family counselor in their school. Let them know you want to be on the Nourish NC backpack program, and you'll get you a form and we'll get you enrolled. We have no limits, so if you need it, we will help you out.
And what's in the backpack typically?
So every weekend, it's for our K through 5 kids, it's 8 meals, 7 snacks, an apple and an orange, and juice or milk. So it's really designed to be what we call a food bridge.
8 meals.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And then over all school breaks, we do what we call break boxes. So when they're out of school for 10 days, that's a really hard time without free lunch. So we do 3 meals a day for 10 days, meat, bread, and fresh produce. Nothing's expired, no junk food, and everything is reviewed by dietitians. So we're not just putting food in a box and going, here you go. We are
Right.
being very strategic with the choices we make because we want our families and children to eat good food, not just anything that we get donated.
You're the executive director. Do you think we're doing enough? You're doing enough? I feel like we need 10 Nourish NCs.
Well, you know, we were talking earlier, I think the best thing we can do, especially after the storm, is look at what went right, but also look at what we could have done better, and really prepare for next time and say, okay, what could we have done better?
What could we have done better
yeah.
from your perspective?
Well, now we know we are a disaster agency, so,
Yes.
and we're going to change our policy to reflect that now that we know that. So for us, I think I'll echo some comments earlier. As a whole, the same neighborhoods that always get ignored got ignored. And it took a little longer to get there. And I think the faith-based community, nonprofits, and local governments got to get together earlier next time and go, who's going to handle that neighborhood? Who's going to be there? Who's going to be that lifeline? Where can we stage food in advance and supplies and be proactive rather than kind of reactive?
Reactive, right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. So going forward, where do you see Nourish NC growing?
Our vision that our board put together about 2 years ago was, at first we were just a backpack program. And we asked ourselves, is this it? And thankfully we said no. And our vision now is to be anywhere and everywhere kids in the county need us. So not just through the backpack program in the schools, but doing farmers markets for children in food deserts, in high need neighborhoods where we take free fresh fruits and veggies and let children shop for free. Feeding kids in parks and playgrounds. Religious folks will often call it serving outside the walls. I can't serve children from inside of our warehouse.
Right.
We know where they are.
Right.
We have to get outside those walls and get it right to them where they play.
And do we have many food deserts, so to speak, in Wilmington, places where it's hard to get to the grocery store?
About 16 or 17,000 people live in food deserts here. And depending on how you calculate those, we have six or seven. And with the fire on Greenfield Street a few months back, we probably kind of added another one there when that grocery store burned down. So again, we know where these neighborhoods are. I think it's our obligation to serve outside the walls and go there and help build those communities and get them the things they need.
Well, thank you. And if we can do any more, let me know
Yeah.
to publicize what you're doing and to get the word out. We appreciate it so much.
Well, y'all are wonderful. We're lucky to have you.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Thank you so much to Reverend Campbell, Rabbi Losman Ostrov, and Mr. McCrossan for being our guests today. New Hanover County Schools values diversity in all facets of the district, and diversity is the very reason why this show exists. Viewers, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Diversity Matters. Feel free to call the New Hanover County Schools Public Relations Division at 254-4245 if you have any questions, or you might have a show topic you'd like to discuss with us. I'll see you again next month for an all-new episode of Diversity Matters.